what has been one of the more impactful or distinctive conversations that has impacted you either personally or professionally, if you don't mind?
Um, I can take a little bit more time if I can share a story with you, which
Sure.
will explain how did he become this empath.
Yeah.
Um, why? How come he was effective as a suicidal prevention expert? Maybe this could be probably my greatest personal accomplishment. Besides long marriage, great kids, grandkids, and all that stuff. I dropped out of medical school twice and finished. I don't know anyone who dropped out of medical school twice and finished. And I had, I think, untreated depression. And I dropped out the first time because my mind just wasn't working. I worked in blue collar jobs. My mind came back. And then I came back to medical school. And then the depression came back again. And I was at a low point. And I met with the dean of the school, who's about funding. And looking at it from his point of view, I could see, him thinking I wasn't really a good investment because every time someone took a leave of absence, they lost matching funds. So he sends a letter to the dean of students, my first mentor. See, I didn't know about mentors because I didn't want to be a burden to anyone. And the dean of students calls me after I met with the dean of the school, and he says, "Mark, I have a letter here from the dean of the school. You better come in." Because I think the dean of the school, he just wanted to cut their losses, but he didn't want me to do anything drastic. Kill myself. I don't know if I was thinking of that, but I don't know. So the dean of students calls me in and he says, "Read this letter." And the letter says, "From the dean of the school, I've met with Mr. Goulston. We talked about an alternate career. And I'm advising the promotions committee that he be asked to withdraw." Because I was miraculously passing everything. I wasn't a stellar student. So they couldn't really flunk me out because I wasn't flunking. And I looked at the dean of students and I said, "What does this mean?" Because I was at a low point. And I came from a background where you're only worth what you do in the world. If you don't do and you don't produce, you're not worth much. I mean, it's that kind of background from childhood. It's not that unusual. Depression, age, parents. And so knowing that since I didn't think I could do that much, I probably wasn't worth that much. So this is what he said to me. He said, "You've been kicked out." And I kind of cratered. He said that, and I remember it's almost like I folded over like a gunshot wound, and I know what that's like because I had a perforated colon 12 years ago and almost died. It was exactly the same feeling. And I felt something wet on my cheekbones, and I thought I was bleeding from my eyes. So this, I'm not religious, but it gets a little bit. And I'm looking at my fingers. I'm looking for blood, and it was tears. And he said, "Mark, so imagine this: you come from a place where what you know is conditional approval." And he says, "Mark, you didn't screw up because you're passing miraculously, but you are screwed up. But if you get unscrewed up, I think this school would one day be glad they gave you a second chance." So I just started to cry, talk about empathy. What? I don't know if it was empathy, it was compassion and kindness. What? And as if that wasn't enough to make me cry with relief, he said, "Mark, even if you don't get unscrewed up, even if you don't become a doctor, even if you don't do anything the rest of your life, I'd be proud to know you." And then he said, you have a goodness streak in you that we should grade in medical school, but we don't. And you have no idea how much the world needs that goodness. And you won't know it till you're 35. but you need to make it till you're 35. And you deserve to be on this planet, and you're going to let me help you. And then he arranged an appeal. And I guess the promotions committee, who I had then, they grilled me, but I think they saw something in me that he did. But the combination of someone seeing that you have value for who you are and not what you do, that you have a future that you can't see, that they would go, because he was a PhD and he was going against the dean of the school. So someone who would stand up for you at their own risk. So all of those combined, and I think that's what I did with my suicidal patients. I paid it forward for 30 years.
You sure did. That's phenomenal. And thank you for sharing that story and your compassion, your empathy that you continue to share with the world, and to find those mentors to shape their future and help them step into that future that they have in front of them. It goes without saying, I mean, it's an incredible journey that you are on right now. What is the best way for people to find out more about your upcoming book and all the other books, and to stay connected with you so they can, know that they have a place in the world too?
I got to tell you, John, I like the change in your tone of voice. It's not entrepreneurial, but boy, is it accessible. Thank you. I mean that. I have a website, markgoulston.com, and I'm a prolific blogger. I go to sleep and I wake up in the middle of the night, and part of Warren Bennis's words stay with me, because when I turned 60, I said, Warren, I think I'm too old. These young people, it's their turn. And he said, Mark, my 70s were my best decade, because all the dots of my life started to connect spontaneously. I started to make sense out of things that I could never make sense out of. And I didn't try to offend people, but I didn't care what I said or expressed myself. Some people will like it, some people won't like it. And so that's what's happening now. The dots are just connecting crazy. So if you go to markgoulston.com, I got articles there. If you go to HBR, I got some articles there. If you go to LinkedIn, I got articles there. Thrive Global, I throw stuff up there. But markgoulston.com is, you'll see what I'm up to. But we're having a whole dedicated website to the next book, Why Cope When You Can Heal, because, and I think HarperCollins was right. They said, healthcare workers who are busy and traumatized, they're not going to want to go searching at markgoulston.com to find out about this. So we're going to have, very shortly, there will be a website called whycopewhenyoucanheal.com. Or we might use the abbreviation, what is it? WCWYH, whycopewhenyoucanheal.com. But it'll be up there. And the book coming out December 1st. There's all kinds of stuff that we're giving out there, bonus materials.